All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Strictly Business Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Biz, and as always, I'm joined by my two distinguished co-hosts, Business Ethics Dave. Dave, how we doing, brother?
What's up, y'all?
Yeah, good. All right. And then John, who goes by the handle I Hate All of You. John might be a little angry at the fantasy gods this week. We had one of the most incredible finishes to a fantasy regular season that we
call incredible. That was devastating.
Nonetheless, it was incredible to all other 11 owners in this league, not named John.
Well, that would be why I hate all of you.
Yeah. That would make sense. Merely 1 yard. Let me repeat. 1 yard is the difference between getting in the playoffs in this league and not getting in the playoffs in this league. What a finish. We will break it all down here in just a minute, but I have to tell you, this was probably one of the wildest stretch runs for this league. First place, number 1 seed finished at 9-5. And then there were 6 teams, 8-6.
Because, hey, raise your hand if you were 8-6 this year. Raise your hand if you made the fucking playoffs.
Our tiebreaker is total points.
I just want to be clear. I was tied for the second best record in the fucking league, and I didn't make the playoffs?
Here's why. Your
legit.
team scored the second least total points on the season.
Oh, I was second least? Who the fuck did I pass?
Norm.
Jesus. All right. Well, I've talked about it a couple of times. And the Nico Collins trade clearly cost me. Having Terry McLaurin on the team for those 5 weeks, I believe, would have won 1 or 2 more games. Dude's the number 2 wide receiver going into last week. So, I couldn't believe that it came down to a fucking yard. And, Chase Brown on that last goddamn handoff runs for, I swore it looked like 12 yards. I looked at the stats. It said 10. I was like, no, it was 12. I go back and look at it. I swear to God, I watched it 6 times. That motherfucker ran for 10.5 yards.
So let's break down the scenario. Give everybody the insight as to what's going on. You had to win to have a chance. You were 7-6. You had to win.
And I needed 9 points out of CeeDee Lamb, 10 points out of CeeDee Lamb.
So specifically going into Monday night, The situation was you needed to win. You were down 9. You had CeeDee Lamb going. Your opponent was done.
And homeboy caught a touchdown on the first drive after like 4 catches and already locked it on the first fucking drive. So first drive, my game's locked. I got the dub.
Now, the more improbable aspect is that you needed help. You needed Norm to beat Jeff, which would have put Jeff at 7-7, and you would have gotten in the 6th spot at 8-6. Jeff's team was done going into Monday night. Norm had Chase Brown and Rico Dowdle, both running backs for the opposing teams in the Monday night game, Cowboys and Bengals. Norm was down, I want to say close to
41. It was around 41.
41 points, which means he needed to average 20.5 points out of both Rico Dowdle and Chase Brown. First quarter of the game, it didn't look great. I think Chase Brown scored his touchdown in the second quarter.
Yeah.
Rico was definitely racking up yards, but didn't get in the end zone. Nonetheless, I wasn't really checking your score until the second half just to see where we're at, because I saw, Chase Brown had scored a touchdown and Rico was racking up a bunch of yards. I was thinking he's got to be getting close to that 100-yard bonus. Well, when I checked in, it was like, I don't know, 4-point-something points you needed out of Norm in those two backs. And there's still like 5 minutes to go in the game. I was like, holy shit, like this is really coming down to the wire. And then, like you said, on Cincinnati's last possession, Chase Brown had a good run where he got tripped up. I mean, that run could have been a lot longer. And it's crazy that it comes down to one run because on the previous possession, Chase Brown took a carry and lost 3 yards.
Man, fuck all that Chase Brown shit. How about when dumb fucking Cooper Rush Oakley Dokas his ass? It fucking falls forward on that bullshit 4th and 10. Rico Dowdle's wide open next to him. He dumps it off to Rico Dowdle. Rico could lose 4 yards and I still win.
Because the half point for the reception.
Like the margin of fucking error on Jeff's win was so fucking tiny. And you said it, this league's been around 30 years. I know that there have been 10 games this close easily. Right? There's never, I can't imagine there's ever been one the week before the playoffs with these kind of implications, right?
So this is the game we're talking about. STD buckets finished 163.42 to 163.50. I've seen games that were less than a point, like a half a point. I don't think I've ever seen a 100th of a point margin of victory.
Which is like less than a 100th of a point. It was like 0.08.
Yeah, which is, so that's 8 100ths.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A 10th of a point would be 0.1. So it was less than a 10th of a point. And since we're going over it, let's just break this game down. I mean, San Francisco had a really big game offensively, and Jeff has a bunch of those pieces, starting with Brock Purdy, who threw for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. I thought the Bears defense, they're not great because the offense doesn't help them out, but wouldn't give up the numbers they gave up. They just got absolutely blown out. They quit. Jared Goff had 27 points. Remember, that was the Thursday night game. He had 3 touchdowns. He did have that interception. I mean, shit, he doesn't throw that interception, Norm wins. I mean, you can point to any number of statistics in this battle.
Anything, you know.
Yeah.
If Jared Goff throws 2 more yards, it's a literal tie between them.
Yeah.
Right? Brock Purdy throws 2 less yards, it's a literal fucking tie between them. Like, it's
Chase Brown had a drop earlier in the game. It would have been a 3 or 4 yard completion, but like you said, even if it goes for negative yards, he just makes that catch. You win. Well, Norm wins, which propels you into the playoffs.
Yes.
Again, when you're talking about a fraction here, 0.08 from a tie. And granted, both teams performed. They scored over 163 points. It's just wild that these are the 2 teams that played each other this week. Overall, it was a high-scoring week for our league. I mean, except for Dave's team. But everybody else put up a lot of points this week. We'll go through that. But you break it down, it was just a squared off battle. Again, Juwan Jennings, 7 for 90 and 2 touches. Darnell Mooney, well over 100 yards. You break it down here. Again, Rico Dowdle, since I gave him to Norm, he's scored 43 points in 2 games. 18 for 131. Debo, I don't know where you were at, bro, but you're not having a good year. Jerry Jeudy really was – his whole game was that 135-yard touchdown. But, again, it matters. You break it down, both defenses kind of squared off. It's just what a wild, wild finish. And for it to come down to that, in conversations with Jeff, who's the winner of this matchup, he's like, dude, I shut it off at the end of the first half. I just couldn't watch it. I just figured what will be will be. And I said to him, I was like, I'm glad you didn't watch the second half because He's bald. He shaves his head. I'm like, dude, you'd have broken some stuff. And he's like, without a doubt, I would have destroyed shit in the house. Because his season was riding on this one game. And I didn't know this, but they had a bet, he and Norm, better record. If Norm won, they would have tied. And instead, Jeff finished the regular season with the better record. Norm had the least amount of total points in the league with 1778. John, you had 10 more points at 1788. And then everybody else is in the 1800s or above. Plenty of Fish, which is failed blueprint. Nick finished the season at 3-11, and we'll go more into the standings here in a minute, but he had 60 more total points than you, John, on the season.
Yeah, he had a bunch of blow-up weeks. His team was a lot better than his last 3 weeks. Like, he caught 2 – did he beat RJ?
He lost. He lost this week to you.
Yeah.
But he had won the previous 2 weeks against Dave and RJ.
RJ.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Nikki's team was really coming together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was happy to win. I wasn't expecting a win for my team coming in. You know what I'm saying? I had so many of my guys on bye. When my team was full, they were putting up a fucking 105 points. Like, I wasn't feeling great, but my team stepped up. I picked up Juwan Johnson. I always get them.
Yeah, Juwan Johnson. Yeah, the tight end.
Juwan Johnson. He had a touchdown. Like,
wide open.
He's working, right? Like,
Giants blew a coverage. He was wide open for that touchdown. Wide open.
Thank you.
Let's break your game down. Again, this was a very high-scoring week. You scored 166.36, and Nikki.
The fun thing was, like, I looked at Nikki's team, and we all know that right now it's very Dolphin-centric, right? I knew a couple of things, right? If I was going to lose this week against Nick, the only way that I for sure was going to lose is if Tua Tagovailoa had a huge day, right? Because that means Tyreek, that means some Achane side work, that means, fucking Jonnu Smith, right? So I went in and took my fucking I micro bet. I told you all that all the time. We bet a few dollars here, a few dollars there on everything, right?
Yeah.
I put pretty much, after I put in all my bets for Sunday, I took the rest of my bankroll, which was like $59, and I bet it on Tua's tiered yardage. So I bet like $20 at plus 275. I bet $20 at 300. I bet $20 or at $10 at 300, and I bet at 325, and then bet like $8 at 350. If he'd have hit 350 yards, it would have paid my league fees.
Wow.
Right? So, and he came a little short. So the gambling account's doing pretty well right now.
Wow.
Right? Ego for fantasy football is not, but the DraftKings account is very, very healthy.
Well, you can't win them all. I noticed that, like, the weeks I don't do well in fantasy, I do well in my gambling account. And then it kind of balances. Very rarely do I have good weeks on both ends. So
well, I wonder if I may have unlocked a secret of gambling versus fantasy in just bet for the people you're playing against.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Well, you mentioned, Tua had a big game, and, he certainly was having a good game, but that game went into overtime. How many yards passing did he have in overtime? I think all those yards.
So Tua hit 300 in overtime.
Yeah.
Tyreek had another 20, 30 yards. I don't think he hit 100 in overtime. I think he had 100 going into overtime.
And then what about Jonnu?
Jonnu went into fucking overtime with a fat ass donut.
A 0.
Jonnu had nothing going into overtime.
He finished with three catches, 44 yards in that game-winning touchdown.
Yep, way to go, Jonnu. So at that point, again, the way things had just been playing for me, I was like, all right, that's it, ball game. I think at that point, with the bullshit winning percentage thing they do with the projections, at that point, I was like 7% to win. Nikki was like 93% to win after that fucking. So I was like, yeah, I'm done. But the team ground back, chipped back at it. Garendo had a good day.
Huge day. Yeah.
You
2
know?
touchdowns.
Yeah.
But you look, just to touch on this real quick, look at the rest of Nick's team that is not Miami Dolphins. Najee Harris, 11.3. Okay. Keenan, 4.5. Hold on. Brian Thomas, 12.6. MVS, 7. Rome had a decent day because he had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But everyone else kind of shit the bed. And you look at your team, you got 18 out of the Tampa D. That was a big day. You got 17.1 on Sunday night out of a kicker off the freaking street.
Finally got a kicker, right?
You got Juwan Johnson, who scored the touchdown, as you mentioned. Mike Wilson scored a touchdown. Metcalf just doesn't play for you, bro. Garendo, 2 touchdowns. Jacobs, 3 touchdowns, which was huge because he only rushed for 66 yards. And then Kyler, 20 points, which you'll take out of your
core if he didn't keep getting stopped by that goddamn end zone.
Right? Yeah. But 20 points you'll take out of your quarterback any day.
Yeah.
And then we touched on CD. CD needed, what'd you say, 10 and change?
Yeah.
To get you the win.
Yep.
And in that first drive, he had like 44 yards and a touchdown.
Right?
Yeah.
Like 3 receptions. I mean, I think he had 11 points at the end of the first drive. I was winning.
Yes. And that's when Nicky made that, hey, good game, John, because the game was over at that point.
And I accepted at that point. It's when he sends that shit, fucking
at 2 o'clock on Sunday.
That's why every time I play him, I'm just sending him that shit Tuesday night.
Yeah. Well, you got to feel good. Your team battled and did what it needed to do. You just didn't get the help that you needed.
Yeah, dude, you could have lost. Fucking your cousin could have lost.
Yeah.
Jeff could have lost. Like I had options, but I talked about it last week. I didn't feel great about it. My team played its balls off, had one of its better weeks in a long time.
Let's go into it because, like you said, there was a bunch of teams that were 7-6. Me being one. Phil came into this at 8-5. Now, the interesting fact about this is that I was down in the standings. Total points by like 8 and change. So in order for me to win the division, I had to beat Phil by more than, let's call it 8.5 points. Fortunately, my team put up plus 160, beat him by 30 points. So easily got the division. Now, there's a second part to this. Because Carl had already secured the division in his division, Dave and I were battling it out for the number 2 seed because neither of us had any total points near Carl. So if Dave won, he would be the number 2 seed. And unfortunately, Dave lost. Fortunately for me, unfortunately for him, Dave lost here in week 14, and my team fucking showed up, man, because, dude, I was 7-3. I was 7-3, and I come into this game 8-5.
Yeah.
Been 1-2 over my last 3, and lost 2 straight. Maybe I was 8. Yeah. No, maybe I was 7-3. I came into this 7-5, so I'd lost 3 straight. What am I saying? I lost 3 straight coming into this. My team was struggle bussing, and I did have a couple guys on bye. Jalen Hurts, 108 yards passing. I know there's been a lot of talk this week about the Eagles passing game, but dude, 14 completions for 108 yards. They're just dinking and dunking. Thing is got 2 touchdowns, 1 to my connect, and he got 1 on the ground. Let me ask you this. Do you guys think starting Will Levis week 14 in a must win was a good call?
No.
Playing against Jacksonville, It's a good matchup, and he has played better the last few weeks, but he only finished with 168 yards. Could have thrown 2 or 3 picks at the end, but nonetheless,
I'm going to sit here and I'm going to call y'all both lying assholes. Y'all were both on this show last week talking about how good Will Levis was playing, how you do it. I even went to y'all afterwards and I was like, fuck y'all. I was thinking about playing Will Levis. Y'all blew up my spot.
I wasn't on the show last week.
Then it was the week before because you 100% talking positive about.
Well, he was playing well then, John.
We'll put it this way: if you had moved Kyler, it would have been 20 points, 13 points. You would have lost this week.
Probably would have cost me the week.
Might have cost you.
I
just don't feel comfortable.
That shit out of anger. No, I would have probably not. I would have gone. Y'all know how I feel about Jameis. You know, I would have played Jameis over Will Levis. So,
yeah, I would have too.
Yeah. So, I don't know why Phil didn't. Phil had Jameis on his team. I don't think Jameis had a great day. What did Jameis have? Let me see. I'll look it up.
Yeah, I think he scored more than 7.
James Winston?
Yeah.
I would have played Winston.
So we talk about it all the time in fantasy. The league is touchdown dependent. You got to score touchdowns. Will Levis did not score a touchdown, whereas my quarterback had 3. Bijan scored. Bijan had a great game. Kyron Williams scored 2 touchdowns. But both my running backs, they held their own. They didn't, surpass Bijan and Kyron. They never will. But they held their own. What did Jameis have?
17.
There you go. It wouldn't have made a difference in this matchup, but
right.
It would have been 10 more points for him. It would have been 141. He still would have lost by 20.
But let's talk about the fact that 2 of the 3 weeks before that, he'd put up 35 and 47.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're shooting for ceiling, man, you don't put in Will Levis.
Yeah. You know what's an ironic
I would have come to, but
ironic stat in this game as I was looking at it, because again, Detroit and Green Bay played on Thursday night. Everyone knows I'm on Ross St. Brown, Sun God. He's my favorite player in the league. He was going for me. I'm like, this is my stud receiver. He's going to get us off to a good start. 1 carry, 10 yards, 5 catches, 43 yards for 7.8 points. He was one of my lowest scorers. Ingram had 5.3, and then I just can't pick the right kicker. I swear. This week, I don't have to worry about it, but for like next week, I'm going to go with my gut and go oppo pick. So I might just pick up Pinheiro or something. I don't know what I'm going to do, but bottom line is it's been brutal. I got 14 out of the Saints defense. Ray McLeod came 2 yards short of 100 yards. He had a fumble that he lost on a kickoff return, which he should have 15.65, but solid spot start in the flex. Devonta Smith came back to action. Not a lot of yards as we discussed, but he got in the end zone. The big week for me, 8 catches, 133 yards, and 3 tutties out of Jordan Addison. Monster week. Jacoby did his thing, but Amon-Ra let me down, which leads me to think he's going to do his thing. Your best player on paper scores one of your lowest numbers. I mean, forget the kicker, Ingram, whatever. 161 points. You got to feel good about that. So I take the division. We'll break that down in a second. Raw dogging it. Needed to win to have a chance. Stacks on Stacks kind of punted this week. He told us that. So shows in his lineup. We'll see here in a second. Sammy Darnold, dude, 5 touchdowns. As we said, 3 of those went to Addison, 2 went to Jetta. Monster day, 347 yards through the air. Burrow had another big day, well over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. And then Charbonnet, that was another big week. Shit, Ryan had 2 of the 4 or 5 monster weeks, one being Darnold, the other being Zach Charbonnet, filling in for Kenny Bone Walker. 134 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, 7 catches for 59 yards, damn near 40 points.
Jeez.
Monster week, and Carl started Blake Corum. 43 out of Chase, which was another huge week. 14 catches on 177 yards. He's like playing a video game, dude. He just looks faster than everybody. He's nuts. What the Giants need is this kid Malik Neighbors to become Jamar Chase. Is it possible? Maybe.
Well,
likely.
Joe Burrow
Yeah.
ball?
Well, That's the thing, but I'm talking about taking that short little crossing pattern to the house. We haven't seen that out of Neighbors yet, whereas Chase does it damn near every week. Jackson Smith and Jigba, solid day, got in the end zone. Tucker Kraft got in the end zone. Chuba just keeps chugging along. He's going to be the primary back moving forward. Talk about that in a second. I mean, as I said, he kind of punted this week because he didn't even start a kicker. It would not have mattered, but Carl didn't want to give up Fairbairn, who is the number one kicker in fantasy. I get that. Carl knew he was going to have a bye next week. He knew he was already in the playoffs winning his division, so kind of punted this week. But Rod Doggett showed up with 183. Like I said, huge weeks out of Charbonnet and Darnold. And Ryan finishes the regular season at 7-7. Carl's 9-5. White boy Rick, he put up a fight this week. His team hasn't really been doing much, and that's because half of his points came from his quarterback.
Yeah.
Talk about another one of those monster weeks, 62.88.
I
Six.
believe statistically
that game was bonkers.
And statistically, that's the best performance from a quarterback in fantasy football history.
No one's ever had 3 on the ground and 3 through the air. Ever.
And the 300 bonus here, like that is.
And more importantly, no turnovers.
And bro is 18 yards away from the 100-yard fucking rushing bonus, dude.
Yeah, that game was wild.
Yeah.
It was wild. Rich had a bye this week. He had a couple guys on bye, hence why he started Herbert. So he was without Scary Terry and Jaden Daniels, so he's forced to start Herbert. Montgomery on the Thursday night, he had a solid day, 16.9, got a touchdown. Saquon, no scores, but he had a 2-point conversion and over 100 yards rushing. Garrett Wilson over 100. Puka, one of these fantasy monster days. Same with Jay Jetta. Jetta finally woke up. 132 yards, 2 touchdowns, but Puka, 12 for 162 and a receiving touchdown, 16 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown. Monster day.
Yeah, Jay Jetta has been finally dealing with a lot more cover. Like, they're putting dudes on Jetta all the time.
Yeah.
Like, which they had to, right? Like, and even in some situations, there's 3 dudes covering him. Like,
not on that one bomb touchdown. There was no one even in the picture. I don't know how you leave that guy, but he was wide. He literally walked the last 7 yards into the end zone. Missed my mouth. Neither of their defenses did anything. -16 total. 0. And then again, Bills in that crazy Rams game. 457 yards with 44 points allowed. No turnovers, no sacks. Just putrid day out of the Buffalo D. That 16 points wouldn't have really mattered because Rich won by 34. Rich is on an absolute banger right now. He's won 5 in a row. Remember, guys, he was 3-6, and he did declare he was going to win out 1 week prior after a loss, and then his team did win out 5 straight. Definitely the hottest team in the league. As I mentioned, he's got Jaden Daniels here on bye. He had Joe Mixon on bye, Terry McLaurin on bye, Bateman as well. But 3 of those 4 guys are, locked and loaded starters, studs on his team.
Mixon on bye. Oh, my God.
Yeah, and his team scored 167, folks.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. The last game to recap from week 14, we talked about it. Business ethics, Dave. A win would have got you the number 2 seed.
Yeah.
The loss tied you with John, but you had more points than John, so you get the division. I got to pay you for the division. I'll do that as soon as we get done here. But anyways, Dave, 114. Your team is limping into the playoffs. How you're 8-6 is
literally right.
Yeah, I don't know how your team is 8-6.
He's had 2 good weeks all year.
Dude, and
I don't think I had a healthy week all year until maybe next week is my first healthy week of the year.
Dude, I told you like a month ago, AJ Brown was drowning on your fucking roster and you needed to trade him to me. And I offered you Hall. By the way, Jordan Addison was in that deal.
No, then you changed it after that, didn't you?
I threw a few different options, but one option did include.
I know you did. You offered
Jordan
me. You did, but I just
Evan Ingram, Tyron Tracy.
I decided to keep AJ Brown.
Rico Dowdle was in a couple of those offers. And what did I tell you? 3 guys scoring 30 points is better than 1 guy scoring 24. And AJ Brown hasn't come close to 24 points since all of that. Yep. Now, for both of our sakes, I hope he does, because I have Hurts, but my goodness, Dave, you know how to just suck the juice out of a stud. Let me tell you. Let's break it down.
I needed to hold on to an elite wide receiver. That's the reason why I decided.
Yeah. I mean, 43 points out of Addison. That's not elite. 3 touchdowns. That's not elite. Anyway.
I don't want to trade you, Addison. Shit.
I know. Well, I think Jacoby Myers was in a deal too. He had over 100 last week. He had like a little over 10 this week, 10.7 to AJ Brown's 6.3. He by himself has outscored AJ the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, everybody has actually.
Yeah. So Jordan Love on the Thursday night, he had a decent game, but you would have hoped he had a bigger game, right, Dave?
16 is not it's a very decent game. It's not good.
You're fortunate Bucky Irving, he didn't play much. I think he left with that hip injury that he's been nursing over the last few weeks. He left very early in that game. Amir Abdullah, you put your faith in Amir, 4.75.
Well, I had Jonathan Taylor on the bye. I had like 3 buys on my roster.
Amir Abdullah, 2 touches.
So I had to do it. Yeah.
Total of -2 yards, 2 touches.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I'm just going to bust on you, Dave, until you give in and figure it out for next year. James Conner showed up for you.
Oh, okay.
Jaden Reed, where are you, buddy? What is going on? And what was it really a shootout? He only had 1 target? Yeah. What the heck is going on? And Dobbs was out of the lineup. You would have thought.
No idea what they're trying to do with Reed.
You would have thought Reed would have had a good game. I was
no idea.
That one bamboozled me, Dave.
Josh Jacobs eating.
Yeah, that's really it. I mean, you were fortunate that both his running backs didn't do shit.
Josh Jacobs had 8 touchdowns the last 4 weeks.
That's nuts. Hey, your boy Thielen. You called that one, Dave. I'll give you that. Serious. You did. He's been solid since he came back from injury. Shit, he's your best receiver right now. Moving on. Yeah. I mean, Amari Cooper, he finally showed up. He had 14 targets, only 6 catches.
A season high 14 targets.
Bro, you had 2 guys that you started that scored 0. Tolbert and Jaden Reed. Oof. That you're not going to win doing that. That's tough. And then his defense dropped 29.
2 goose eggs.
Yeah, and his defense dropped 29 on you. That's tough. But like you said, you got a bunch of guys on bye. Bo Nix, Jonathan Taylor, McConkey. Wasn't on bye, but he was inactive this week.
Yeah.
Ertz was on bye.
Are you starting Bo Nix here on out?
Until further notice, probably, yeah. I mean, I think I'm at least for next week, right? I mean, I haven't really thought about the week after that, but yeah, man, Bo Nix should be starting.
So this regular season finished. This regular season finished with a bang, and this is probably, our league is highly competitive, but from a statistical standpoint and a record, we've had teams finish 7th that were tied record-wise that didn't get in the playoffs. But this year, it just seemed like the league was so jumbled all year. I mean, Ryan finished in 8th place, and he was 7-7, and he scored the 3rd most points in the league. So let's break it down. We touched on it before. I had to win. Jeff won. Phil lost. So all 3 teams tied at 8 and 6. I got the point total, 22 points roughly, more than Phil. So I won the division going into the playoffs. All 3 of these teams made the playoffs. Norm finished 6-8, and as we said, he scored the least amount of points all season. Carl had already locked up the Mediocreville division. He was 9-4 going into the last week. 10-4, 9-5 didn't matter. Carl also won total points on the season, regular season, 2,300. That was 200 and what did I say? 24 points more than number 2, which was Rich, who finished 8-6, which was tied for the 3 teams up here in the Red Flags division. But because Rich did not win his division, the highest seed he could get was 4. So Rich's team has won 5 in a row, hottest team in the league, best team on paper, hands down. No one wants to play Rich. Rich gets the 4 seed, scoring the second most points. Ryan scored the third most points in the league, finished 7-7, does not make the playoffs. Ricky, 5-9. Now, skid marks. This was a very competitive division as well. Dave and John finished tied 8-6. RJ 6-8, but Dave wins the tiebreaker between he and John, scoring more points, which 12, 65, 77 more points than John. RJ actually scored the second most points. Actually, no, scored the third most points in this division. Nikki, who finished 3-11, ended up with 1842.62, which is 0.61 more than RJ. So 6 teams tied at 8-6, 1 team 9-5, 1 team 7-7. 8 teams had a 500 or better record, but only 6 get into the playoffs. 2 teams were 6-8. RJ and Norm. Ricky finishes in 11th at 5-9, and then Nikki's Miami Dolphins at 3-11. Wow. Any comments before we move on to transactions and setting up the first round of the playoffs?
Yeah, just remember every year we move forward, the only way to guarantee yourself into the playoffs is 9 wins.
I agree.
2 years in a row, we've had an 8-6 team on the outside looking in.
Last year was RJ. This year is you.
Yep.
Wow.
2 of the best players in the league.
Well, RJ's missed the playoffs 2 years in a row now.
We all have soft times in our schedule.
For sure. For sure. Just spitting facts over here. Like pre-snap motion increases offensive production. Okay, moving on.
Every time. Every time.
Moving on. All right. So it's going to be easier to go through it on my phone. Obviously, there's no trades because trade deadline has been met. All right. Justice Hill got picked up by Phil. He spent 4 fake bucks. The Raiders go to Carl for 3 fake bucks. Phil also picked up Koo the kicker, Isaiah Likely, and Javonte Williams. So Phil obviously is not happy with his roster, making moves week 15. McKeever picked up Isaiah Davis. RJ picked up the Bengals D. McMillan picked up by Dave, which was crazy because Ryan just dropped him and didn't start him. McMillan had a big day. Jameis picked up by Jeff. Dave picked up Trey Benson. Hi, Dave. Trey Benson's on the roster. All right. Kendre Miller goes to Jeff. And then Goodson goes to Dave. And you dropped Amir Abdullah. What are you doing? It's your good luck charm. Anyways, Hollywood Brown got picked up by Jeff. There's talks that he's going to practice this week, could play as soon as next week, week 16. And then Abanakanda picked up
Israel Abanikanda.
Anyways, picked up by Jeff. I swapped kickers, picked up McManus. I know you can't see all the pickups here, but that's essentially what went down this. Yeah. Here's the free agent pickups. There's McManus. Abanikanda, Bananarama. There he is. So guys are just nitpicking, moving things around just a wee bit as we get prepared here. Here, there should be a button for me to show. Boom. Here we go. Can you guys see the playoff bracket?
Yeah.
All right.
It's kind of cut out. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I'll show it here. So Carl gets the number 1 seed. He automatically moves into week 16, the semifinals. He will play the winner of Rich and Phil, which should be a barn burner. We're going to break that down in a sec. I get the number 2 seed and bye moving into week 16. I will play the winner of Jeff and Dave. So
congratulations on your easy path to the finals.
Yeah, you guys say that, but anything can happen. Anything can happen in these playoffs. And oftentimes, it's not always the best team on paper. All it takes is 1 week. You know, Carl's susceptible because he leans so heavily on the 3 Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, Rich's team is really the one that's, you know, fail-proof because he's got studs playing for different teams. Phil has a good team as well. Jeff has scored over 160 points 3 of the last 4 weeks, or 2 of the last 3. Dave, you're the team that needs to put up some points, but you're due. If you want to look at it that way, your team is due.
I have a couple squeaky wheels, so we'll see.
There's no way Jaden Reed scores. There's no way that Jaden Reed scores 0 this week. And because of all the talk with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, who's going to get force-fed the fucking ball this week? A.J. Brown. So if you get good games out of those 2 guys, you got Jonathan Taylor coming off by, you know, there's room for optimism, Dave.
Joey Porter is taking A.J. Brown this week if there's any takeaway. I mean, you know.
Perfect.
On that, but.
It means Devonta Smith's going to be wide open.
That's right.
It doesn't matter, though. So I want to remind everyone in the league that if you have a bye this week, still start a good lineup because you can push for high week, which Carl has right now. I think it's like, shit, we have to look back, but Carl had like a well over 200-point week, 220.
211.
No, it was more than that. It was more than that. Going into the losers bracket, John, you get a bye into the semifinals. You'll play the winner of Norm and Ricky. Ryan gets a bye. He'll play the winner of Nick and RJ. So, boys, let's dive in here. This is now week 15, so it's the first week of the playoffs. This is the big one here. This is the big one. Rich and Phil, 2 powerhouse teams all year. Phil's team has been up and down, lost 2 of the last 3, whereas Rich has won 5, count them, 5 in a row. His team's loaded. Let's break it down, boys. Jaden Daniels playing at the Saints. Lamar Jackson playing at the Giants. Both of those are juicy matchups.
Lamar.
Yeah, but I just don't see Lamar playing much in the fourth quarter, which could hurt fantasy. You know?
Right.
I see that being a blowout. But then again, you don't know. I mean, the Giants are starting Tommy Cutlets again this week.
Small edge Lamar.
Yeah, I just think I don't know, because Derek Carr's out, isn't he, for the Saints? He broke his wrist or something.
Yeah, he's out. Jake Hayner's in.
How are the Saints?
Hayner, baby.
So how are the Saints going to move the ball? They're not. Joe Mixon and Saquon both have tougher matchups. All 4 of these are tough. Right now, Phil has Pacheco in the starting running back spot, which means Bijan is down in the flex.
Sure, but if you're going to tell me that you're taking Kyron, even considering Kyron and Pacheco over Mixon and Barkley, that's a question.
No, and I was going to say Mixon. I feel like Barkley and Mixon are matchup proof.
Yeah.
Wide receivers, Rich also moved one of his studs into the flex, starting Elijah Moore, Puka, and Terry against Khalil Shakir, which could be a shootout, Detroit-Buffalo. Devonta Adams, who's quietly put together good numbers over the last few weeks. He is now ranked 33. Excuse me. 10, 6, 18. So he's like every other week. Oh, here we go. 26, 15, and 10. So last 3 weeks, he scored in double digits with a big week this past week, over 100 and a touch. I still don't see it with Puka.
Puka and Terry.
Yeah, same here.
Puka.
Fryermuth and Otten. Otten's been on the downward swing, but they're going to need him this week. Give me Otten slight. And then this is fun here. You got Montgomery and Jetta against Bijan and Quentin Johnson. Give me Monty and Jetta.
Monty Jetta.
I mean, Bijan could go off, man. I mean, they're playing Monday night at Vegas.
Yeah, the problem is he's got brick hands in there. Quentin Johnston fucking sucks. He can't catch to save his goddamn life.
Well, to Phil's credit, he picked up Justice Hill and Javonte Williams. He has Leggett on the bench, who would have had a monster game.
How about Westbrook Akine, who scores a touchdown every other catch?
Yeah. Kyle Pitts, Isaiah Likely. He has options that he could thrust into that flex spot. Arizona versus New England or Washington at New Orleans. Give me Washington with no Derek Carr. It doesn't look like my man Olave's coming back this week either.
Washington for me too.
Trade biz.
New England, Drake May always has one of those pop games every now and then. He might have a strong running game. So,
no, fuck Arizona. I'm taking Arizona. Fuck all that bullshit.
Okay. Well, sounds like John, you're slided heavily towards Rich in this matchup, which I tend to agree with.
I think Phil's about to get his shit pushed in.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can channel some anger, pretend he's playing against Nikki and do something about it. But, I mean, on paper, that I can't imagine there'd be anybody that'd be choosing Phil's side.
Dave, thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, Jaden Daniels can go wild in this Saints game, even though I think Lamar has an edge in the matchup. But, yeah, top to bottom, it's Rich's team that should have the win.
All three of us agree. All right, Dave. The other quarterfinal matchup, Business Ethics going up against Make Bears Great Again. Jeff's team's on a banger. Jeff has won 4 in a row to get into the playoffs. So he was 4-6 at one point, finished the season at 8-6. Let's break it down. Right now, you got Bo Nix going up against Indy. That's a juicy matchup. Mm-hmm. At home Sunday. It's going to be a nice day here in Denver. Brock Purdy plays tomorrow night in San Francisco against the Rams, who just gave up 39 or 40 points to fucking
Buffalo.
Yeah. But Brock Purdy is not Josh Allen. Give me Bo Nix. Give me Bo Nix against Indy. John, what do you think? Brock Purdy against the Rams at home tomorrow night.
I mean, that could be a shootout.
It's tonight.
Oh, shit. I know. We normally record on Wednesday, dude. Thank you, Dave.
He has 3 players tonight.
Yeah, he does, because he's got 2 of their wide receivers.
Who's he got in flex?
Who? Jeff?
Heaver.
Right now, he has Debo and Jerry Jeudy.
Okay. I just wonder why both his running backs were playing on Monday night. That explains it.
Mm-hmm. So, Jonathan Taylor at Denver. It's a tough matchup. Connor versus New England, also a tough matchup. But then you got Swift at Minnesota and Aaron Jones in that same Monday night game. There's 2 Monday night games this week, and they both fucking suck.
This is just a push of shit. That's all it is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thielen, Cooper, AJ, Drake, Juwan, Darnell. Whew.
I think I'm taking Drake, Juwan.
Same. I think I am too. He's got a bunch of guys playing on Monday night.
It's like Thursday and Monday, like nothing on Sunday.
Yeah. Trey McBride, Laporta, give me McBride.
Yep.
And then McConkey, any word on him playing this week, Dave?
He practiced limited yesterday. He's got a shoulder and a knee issue. So AC joint sprain and a.
For your sake, I'm going to say Jaden Reed bounces back this week in a plus matchup at Seattle. Debo hasn't done shit, man. His name on paper looks a lot better. I mean,
I'll
against
take Reed and McConkey in that.
Same here, but against me, week 13, Debo had 12.4, which was his highest output because of this number right here, 208 kick return yards. Look at his other numbers, 4 catches for 20 yards, 1 rush for 1 yard. He hasn't done shit, bro. 10.6, 26. He had 20 in week 2, but these are not standard Debo numbers.
No.
And Judy's been solid, and they're going to need him against Kansas City, but you know what Spags does. He takes away the team's best option, which right now is Jerry Judy. So give me Reed and McConkey. Chargers defense against Tampa, Pittsburgh at Philly. Pittsburgh, even though they give up 27 points and like 350 yards, they get sacks and turnovers. Statistically, give me Pittsburgh in this matchup. McKeever doesn't have another D. He's just riding Pitt.
I'll take the Chargers. They're thick, man.
Yeah, they are, but
I think the Chargers D is better than the Tampa offense.
okay.
I mean, that ain't much, man, but
Tampa can move the ball, bro.
they're playing in Philadelphia, man.
Pittsburgh? Yeah. And Philly notoriously does not turn the ball over, but they do give up sacks. So we'll see. I think this one's going to be close. This one's going to be close, Dave. It comes down to a couple things. Bo Nix, Jaden Reed bouncing back, and then Monday night. He's got Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, Mooney, and Drake London, all on Monday night.
Wow.
So you're going to need a big lead. You're going to need a big lead after the Green Bay.
A.J. Brown.
Seattle. Yeah. Yeah. So good luck. I give a slight edge to Jeff. What do you think, John?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I know he had flex on lock, and I like that D, but Dave's got a long way to climb. I think he knows it.
Well, it starts tonight. Purdy, Debo, Jennings.
So Dave, how are you feeling going into your match?
Man, I love being the underdog. Shit, man, let's go. I am ready to go. Man, it's gonna be a hell of a match. So, yeah, man.
Again, anything.
The underdog.
Get your popcorn. Get your popcorn ready.
Anything can happen. It's the playoffs. 1 week. It's all that matters. Again, I'm leaning towards Jeff in this one. I've been rooting against Jeff's team all season because he's in my division, and at this point, I'm just looking at the numbers. I give a slight edge because Dave's team has underperformed for 8 weeks now straight?
Maybe I had, it's been underperforming all year, man.
All year.
All year.
Hold on.
All year.
I just don't
I'm just being honest.
No, I looked at it earlier. You had 2 weeks that were really good. It was week 1 and week 4 or something.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. We've got 2 more to preview for the Loser Bowl. We've got White Boy Rick going up against STD Buckets. This should be a fun one. You got Josh Allen at Detroit. Like I said, that has the potential to be a shootout too. And he's got Jared Goff. So these two guys quarterbacks are squaring off. Give me Josh Allen. It's hard to bet against him statistically. Nick Chubb, Breece Hall. Breece Hall right now is highly questionable to play. He did not play last week. Chase Brown and Tony Pollard.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for
Breece
this week either.
Yeah. And then it's funny. He's got Chase Brown opposing Tony Pollard in that same game.
Pollard.
Probably give me the Chase Brown Pollard side. Garrett Wilson, D-Hop, and possibly Pickens. Pickens is nursing that hamstring injury. You got DJ Moore, Xavier Worthy, Christian Watson. Either way, I'm going the Garrett Wilson D-Hop side.
I don't think Pickens is going to play.
Yeah. We'll see who he has to put in there in a second. Brock Bowers, George Kittle. That's a pretty good matchup.
Wow, that's a nice go Bowers. I go Bowers versus Atlantic defense, but
Yeah.
that quarterback though for the Raiders kind of scary.
Yeah, but the dink and dunk, man, that's all it takes. Njoku and Keon Coleman against Rico Dowdle and McCormick. McCormick getting the start this week. Norm would have won if he started McCormick last week over Xavier Worthy.
McCormick Dowdle.
Yeah, give me the Dowdle side.
Yeah.
Buffalo at Detroit, Kansas City. Give me Kansas City playing at Cleveland. Let's see. He's also got the Giants against Baltimore and Tennessee against Cincinnati. So I guess his best bet is to start that Buffalo defense that just gave up 475 yards of total offense, no sacks, no turnovers. And now they're playing one of the more premier offenses in Detroit. Oof.
That could be a shootout.
Yeah, let's just hope Buffalo scores 0 points. Man. I like your team name, John.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, last one. Firm grasp of the obvious up against failed Blueprint, who changes his team name every week. Nicky's 3-11, but he's won 2 of the last 3, and his team's scoring over 150 points a game. You look at the projections here; it's pretty even. Let's break it down. Patty playing at Cleveland, Tua at Houston. What do you boys think, fantasy-wise?
I think the Houston Miami game is going to be a shootout, so
Tua.
I'll take Tua.
I will too.
Tua.
And you don't know what the weather's going to be like right now. It just says windy in Cleveland, but you don't know. Kamara and Cook, Najee and Achane.
Najee and Achane.
Okay, I would go Kamara Cook.
Kamara Cook.
Wide receivers: Calvin Ridley, Mike Evans, Jalen Waddle. Ooh, okay, so that's an interesting piece. RJ's going to cut into some of that production from Tua with Tyreek, Keenan, Rome. Give me Ridley, Evans, Waddle.
Yeah, I'll take Ridley, Evans, Waddle.
That's a tough one. Give me the Allen side.
Okay.
Bounce back game for Keenan Allen.
Against Minnesota?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Kelsey and the hottest tight end in the league, not named McBride, Jonnu Smith.
Push.
Give me Kelsey.
I'm going to take Jonnu. All right. Tampa Bay backfield against Mark Andrews and BTJ.
I'll take Tampa Bay.
Bucky Irving may not play.
Then Rashad White and whoever else he's got, I'd probably take. Who's he got?
You got Kareem Hunt, Yoshivas, Tyler Lockett, Turpin.
RJ side.
Okay.
Man, it's going to be tough if fucking Bucky ain't there, I think, actually. He ain't got shit else.
And they're playing the Chargers.
Yeah.
Cincinnati defense at Tennessee or the Jets at Jacksonville with no Trevor Lawrence yet again. Give me Cincinnati's defense. No, scratch that. Give me the Jets defense. That Jacksonville offense is hard to watch.
Give me the Bengals.
Okay. Matt Jones at the helm is very hard to watch football. It's bad football.
I'm taking the Jets, man, for that reason only.
Oh, man, it's bad football.
Matt Jones is not good football.
So overall, what do you guys think? I give an edge to RJ in this matchup. Although that Miami game, man, that means everything. The Miami-Houston game.
Yeah, this is a tough one, man. I say a slight edge, RJ. But
yeah, me too.
That Miami-Houston game could be a shootout, though.
Yeah, Miami Houston shootout. I like Nick's side.
Yeah, and it's in a dome. So even though it's a December game on the road, the Miami Dolphins luck out, get to play in a dome. So with that being said, good luck this week to everyone in the league. We've got playoffs this week. It's week 15 of the NFL calendar. What a season, or what a finish to the regular season. Now, this is where the money's earned. You can still win high week for the season, total points in a single week, and you can still win $100 if you win the loser bowl. The only way to win money now in the upper division is to make the finals. First place and second place get paid out. So, that being said, Dave, you got a big week this week. Do you have anything you want to say to McKeever?
Hey man, may the best team win. See you on Tuesday.
John, any parting shots?
Yeah. For years in this league, I was mocked for being mediocre. Okay? Mediocre John. He was mediocre John. This league is such a goddamn snowball that aside from the one person who was not mediocre this year was Nick, who just fucking sucked. So call me mediocre all you want. No one here excels. I've got almost a 70% win percentage in the last 3 years. A fucking half a millimeter kept me out of the goddamn playoffs. Fuck all of you. See you next year.
Well, with that said, I don't know how else we can finish this. Good luck to everybody. I don't have a dog in the fight this week. And hopefully my team survives healthy and moves on to week 16, and I'll be facing the winner of Dave and John, or Dave and Jeff. Wow, Freudian slip. With that, everybody have a good week.